Hello, 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 and good day to you. I think it's time to fully finish off the Shadow Ancient event, because although we've finished all the event stuff from it, the last thing that we have to do is hatch the Ancient Divine Dragon Glom. And Glom is sitting in my hatchery right here. So I think, without further ado, it is time to add him to our collection. So Glom here, I believe, is my third Ancient Divine exception, along with Foroskke and Enroja, and of course Glom being the third one. But the reason that people love these super high stat dragons is because it means that their bless and their leech is super strong on a team. His shadow element, all things considered, isn't really as useful, but look at how cute he is. Very cute boy. I don't want to add him over there. I do indeed want to add him to an ancient habitat. So we may have to make some space in one of our existing ones. I thought I'd already checked this. There we go. We've got a Shade Brute Dragon that for some reason is over in this ancient habitat. Let's remove him from there and then place little Glommy over here into his habitat. And we'll go and take him for a quick couple of battles in a second as well. So obviously seeing some of these really powerful dragons in game is doesn't happen all too often. But anyway, when the lunar rock was found deep in one of Enroja's mine shafts, the world plunged into darkness. Life suffered until Glom, the divine shadow ancient, arrived on a moonbeam to bring the dead back to life. That's kind of terrifying. He's actually the leader of the zombies. Wait, does that mean that everyone died at some point and then Glom brought everyone back to life? Does that mean that we're actually all just the children of zombies? These are very important questions, and I don't know if anyone's asked them. But little Glom is here. I do really enjoy his baby form. He just looks like a cute little snake. Like, you would not expect him in his baby form to be one of the technically best dragons in the entire game. And now, I wouldn't put Glom on the same level as, say, like Bahajia, Enroja, Oyar, Lisk, mainly because of his third element being Shadow, which you can still use Shadow on a team, but it's just not as useful for dungeon grinding and such. But I will level him up to level 25. It's just you've got to remember with Divines, Ancients, to unlock their third element, it does cost gems. And they don't really see their full potential until you have level 6 skills unlocked on them. So you need level 6 Ancient and level 6 Divine for him to really have a use. But Glom here, very high base stats, same with the other Ancient exceptions. So if you did manage to get him and he was your first Divine Ancient, you may want to use him. I'm not going to use him personally, but he does look pretty nice. I just think I wish his body was a little bit more detailed and less blurry than it is. But anyway, let us go and take Webs over here for a quick spin in the map. It's just a shame, like, I wish that we could quick unlock, like, divine upgrades and things like that. Because at least then we could, like, test them out in an actual map battle, if you know what I mean. But this be DML. This is the way that it is. So I guess we'll throw him in. We'll throw Foroskke in here as well. And do I have Enroja? Oh, the others are at level 30. It's fine. I'll pop all three of these guys in just so that you can see them. We've got Glom, who relatively speaking, he's quite small. Foroskke, who is like the biggest boy ever. And Enroja, who we can't really see because he's been taken over by Foroskke. But these two I have upgraded their level 6 abilities, so we can actually see what those are like. But obviously Glom not having level 6 sucks for him. But these three together would not make a fantastic team. I mean, they have very high base stats. So in terms of stats, this is a very stacked team. But in terms of their actual usefulness, Enroja's always going to be useful because it's got a shield. But Foroskke and Glom, unfortunately, both only have 2 elements, really, that are deemed useful. If these guys came out with their base stats really high without Divine and Ancients being a thing in game, they would have been so good. Because the reason Plant and Shadow just isn't as good anymore is because, well, it's because of sigils. And that's the main thing that synergizes. So you bless, and then the bless obviously works with Wonder Acceptance, and Leech works with like Witchcraft Acceptance, Wonder Acceptance, and that's why they're so good. And that means that because Shadow and Plant only really do well with Witchcraft, you have to throw Witchcraft to get good use out of Shadow and Plant, and even then they don't do well in Dungeon. So it just is what it is. But this team, we could probably, if I put the other two in first slot, we could probably deal with a fight that's probably quite a lot harder or a lot higher in level than these guys are. It's just, even without Wonder Acceptance, you can probably beat dragons that are, again, quite a few levels higher. Like, we could take on... Should we try and take on Triad here, who's a level 31 boss? Should we do that? Like, I could throw Enroja in first. Glom is obviously the weakest link here because he doesn't have his other abilities unlocked. But, like, we could Bless. And then he's gonna one-shot Glom, but then we can Leech. And then we could Leech again. We may be able to do this Triad fight. Because, look, they don't get one-shot. So these guys can still actually fight this dragon quite easily. And remember, this is without any sigils. So as soon as you start adding sigils into the mix here, boy howdy, does the situation change a lot. It changes a lot. But yeah, they can very easily take on a boss of the same level without really too many worries. Poor Glom obviously got decimated, but add sigils into that mix, they could probably beat dragons another 20 levels above them. Maybe 15. And that's even with like one just sacking dragon in the form of Glom. But anyway, that is Mr. Glom. And so he will sit in this ancient habitat with Foroskke for now. I'm glad to add you to my game. Now it's just going to be a case of saving up all of our gems. Although do remember that come tomorrow, we will have a cake craze event for the new Cheesecake Dragon. So if you want to take part in that, be aware. We do also have things in the Sail Whale, which are limited time breeding tokens that last a day, but they cost 99 gems. I think if I was really desperate for one of these dragons to want to breed it, I'd probably buy it once. But I certainly don't recommend it, because 99 gems at just a chance of getting it, not the bestest idea. But that does exist. So, it is what it is. But I guess we'll finish off Sigil campaign map as well, because this is 3 days, well, just under 3 days before the end of the event. And with Sigil map campaign, I've said it before, but the way that people manage to get higher scores on the fights, or overall, is by finishing it not at the very beginning of the end of the event period. Because when you finish on day 1, which is like the minimum amount of time taken, you normally go up against really active players, but you can go up against less active players if you finish like a couple of days later. Doesn't always work, but it is the way that I've managed to get free premium sigil chests, basically. I doubt I'll get it this time, because I have not been trying to, you know, play out the fights properly. But I at least should finish this map. I didn't finish the last Sigil map, which sometimes is actually beneficial to not finish a Sigil campaign map as well. But if I was really tryharding it, I'd be picking Daredevil Purity for this. Obviously, I'm not swapping to that because I don't think it's worth the resource investment. But there we go. Finished off the Sigil campaign map. Fabtabulous. We got a duplicate porcupine. And what is our actual score? What's our placement gonna be? Like top 20? Number 2. Like, this is what happens when there's a couple of days left. Like, I have not been paying attention to this at all. My score at all. So I'm sure that I could have done a lot of the fights a lot better if I was paying attention. And just because I finished a couple of days later, and like a few days before the end, it means that right now I'm sitting in second. Now, that does mean that other people could also join in and end up finishing with a higher score than me right now. But for the next 2 days and 23 hours of time, we would still be, or we should still go over and redo any fights when we get more energy. But, you know, it's just what it's like. If you don't finish it on day one, you get much easier boards on average. And this just shows you, like, most of the people here, you'll see there's another level 160 player, but the others are like level 63, level 118, level 64, and it looks like there's only 14 people on this leaderboard, so that's much easier than dealing with it otherwise. You know, again, sometimes it works out like I said, other times it doesn't. Plus, it's obviously going to depend on your server. So, you know, APA Android, for example, is quite a popular server. APA EUR is quite a popular server for the game. So, in those cases, you've probably got more competition. On Windows, because obviously it's a PC players at that point, I don't believe there's as many PC players as Android and iOS. So, on average, we get slightly less competition, which I am not complaining about. I'm not going to complain. If I can get some, like, free goodies, I'll be all for it, right? But, yeah, you may see that I've not been going on as much this week about DML, or towards the end of this week, and it's mainly because, you know, major events just finished, and a lot of people get really burnt out after major events are done, because, you know, it's basically been an entire month of grind. So you'll probably see some players on your friends list stop logging in, because the major events are the main reason people log in to get the good dragons. So you'll probably see things die down a little bit in the next couple of weeks. See a lot of people probably quit the game. It happens every event, right? Even in other games. It's like when there's interesting or good dragons available in an event, you see people come in, and then when the event's over, you see them sort of fall off. And that always happens in these sorts of games. That's why they throw so many events at you all the time. Because it's like, say you don't actively play the game, but say you still follow them on social media and things like that. If they can then say, hey guys, there's a huge, big, crazy event, then some people will be like, you know what, maybe I'll log in. Or maybe there's a new dragon that they really like the look of. So then it entices people to log in. Then when it gets to the end of the event period, either people were successful in the event, maybe they did really poorly, and then some people are just like, well, I don't ever want to play an event like this ever again. So you do see a lot of drop-off after the major events. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because again, it allows you more time to focus on other games. It'll give you a chance to actually upgrade your team, maybe progress in the map. So it's not a bad thing. It's just for general player base. I saw it a lot, especially in the first few years that after events and things ended, lots of people just left. They just stopped playing. You know, you probably encountered it before if you play lots of other games, that just think one day you just never picked up a game again. Maybe you think about it, maybe you talk about it, but you never actually picked it up and played it ever again. And so, you know, for some people that would become after the Shadow event, for some people that might be after player level 10, for some people it might be after they spent £100 and got nothing of value. You know, we're all in different situations. But, you know, it does mean that between now and next, what we would predict next would be either Christmas event or Divine event next. You should be saving up all of your gems, especially if you're free to play. Because if you are a free-to-play player, you need to be saving up every single gem that you can get. Like, I haven't made a purchase, really, outside of, like, that couple dollar bundle in, like, 4 months. So I need to be aiming to get my gems back up. And so I'm going to be doing that by ruin, exploring, and dungeon, whenever I can be bothered to do dungeon, mainly. But it's like, things like the Sail Whale, when I've only got 118 gems, I would never be buying these, because this amount of gems isn't enough to get me close to anything out of an event. Ideally, I like to get to about 1,000 gems, because that tends to be how many I need to spend during ancient events on the dungeon grinding to get the dragons. I think I spent about 800 in this event to get Glom, and that also includes Umbra, actually. About 800 to 900 is my guess. But anything below that, it starts to get a little bit sketchy, and it's like, oh, I haven't even participated in the weekend events. Whoopsie! But yeah, anything below that is kind of sketchy. I know that a lot of people have been grinding out movie marathon, but honestly, I cannot sit here and watch, what is it, 30, 40, 50, 60, it's like 80 ads. It's like 70 something ads that you have to watch to get all of these rewards, and it's not gameplay to me. Watching advertisements is not gameplay, and so I don't want to do that. So that's why I don't take part in movie marathon. Sure, relics of hatching are great, the extra gems are great, but I'd rather actually play a game to get resources rather than watching advertisements. So I can't... Morally, I cannot stand the thought of doing that. Put it that way. But anywho, for now, like I said, we've got that new cake craze event coming tomorrow. I've got all of the ancients hatched now, which is fantastic. But don't forget that we do have a few other updates, like the rest of the weekly schedule. We've got Bottomless Dungeon with Memorial in it, Clan Siege, Cake Craze, Piggy Bank, Otto's Lottle has Independence in it, and aside from that is just lucky breeding for... Actually, what is it? The Bubble Dragon. So keep all of that in mind. That is coming next week. I hope to have another chill week next week where we don't have to worry about too much. We were successful this time without having to buy any altars or anything. So I would say our DML experience has been quite positive recently. But anyway, I appreciate you being here. I hope that you also managed to get Glom, or at the very least Homala, or whoever you wanted from the event. But until next time, I do hope to see you then.